Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today, I have an amazing guest. This guy is so full of great advice and life stories, and he has achieved so much different successes in so many different areas of his life. And I'm so fortunate to have him here today. He is a former NFL player of 4 seasons. He is an expert in medical sales. He's an investor. He's a football coach, and he's also a musician. So please welcome the amazing Ryan Prince.
Good, buddy. Thanks for fitting me on.
Thanks for being here. How's your day been going?
Good. I'm a full-time parent now. Left that out. So I took care of my little 2 guys all day, and it's a beautiful day here in Utah.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about yourself for people who don't know who you are. You got out of football, and then you progressed into becoming a really great salesperson in the medical field. Tell us how that transition got there and some of the trials and tribulations that you had to overcome.
Well, shoot, starting out, my dad didn't want me to play football. He could see that was going to be a little more hard on being a parent, but I really wanted to play. I got into it when I was in 9th grade, and that is 9th grade. 14 years old, and I got my butt kicked by the kids that had been doing it for a while. But I really wanted to be good at it. I wanted to be a basketball player in high school. And you had to be a football player to make the basketball team. So that really cinched that at age 15, I was going to stick with football so that I could make my basketball dreams come true, because I loved basketball. And I started to really like football once I realized that I was 6'4" and I was real skinny. I got bigger after that. But once I finally learned how to play, I really enjoyed it. And basketball and football were great loves of mine in high school. But I was prototypically sized to be a football player. I was not a basketball player. So moving on to college, my opportunities were in football. I was really excited about those. So I never envisioned that I'd be a pro football player in real life. I envisioned in my dreams I might be a pro football player. I loved Jerry Rice. I loved the Niners. I loved cheering for my favorite NFL teams. And I got into college playing, and when I arrived there, I was 6'4" and 215 pounds, which is thin in the football world. You'll see quarterbacks and maybe some receivers that are lean like that, but I was playing tight end, and I had to bulk up. In my first few days of practice, I was pretty sure that I was never going to knock anyone down again, because there were real full-size tough guys there, and I was pretty sure my football career was going to end with college, paying for my school, getting my degree, and getting to get on into the real world. But by my junior year, I was getting scouted by the NFL scouts that were coming around. And we had NFL players coming out of our program, a couple of them that were older than me. And our coaches were saying, hey, Ryan might be the next one. And that was news to me almost as well. So I was like, whoa, these guys really believe in me, and I'd been working really hard. I was real dedicated at it, and I was becoming a full-size kid where that might be a real chance for me. So I doubled down and just made football my real full-time focus. During college, I was raised by a great father who always had me from my teenage years paying for my own incidentals and my own bills. He gave a roof over my head and gave me a lot of guidance and whatnot. But throughout college, I worked a lot of odd jobs, and sales was one of them. I always liked sales because I could make my own hours. And being an athlete in college, sometimes we had special hours that were dedicated towards football, and you couldn't really always rush off to a shift at a job. And so I started taking sales jobs where I could have an appointment basis job. And my favorite classes in college were technical sales was my degree. My favorite classes were the communications courses and learning how to be a better speaker and how to be a better listener. And we had a unique technical sales degree at Weber State University that gave us the training to get into big sales roles afterwards. So I was looking at different industries, and the one I liked the best was medical, pharmaceutical, medical, working with doctors, working with hospitals. Because I really wanted to be a lot of things when I was a kid. I wanted to be an astronaut, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a professional football and basketball player, I wanted to be a rock star. And I was working my way through these, right? So I was thinking, I'll get my shot at football, I'll get that out of my system, I'll graduate college, and I'll get into, wow, what am I going to do now? Doctor, prohibitively long, you know. I mean, am I even smart enough? Shoot. So I was like, let me just really focus on football, because I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm 24, 25, 26 right now. But football's here. It's right in my face. Let's capitalize on this opportunity. And my dad then was asking me, son, do you stack up here? Where do you, how do you think it'll go? And I was like, Dad, there's no way to find out without just trying my absolute hardest. So I'm going to make sure that I never have to wonder how good of a football player I am. I'm going to make sure that I try my absolute best and see where I stack. So I got to leave Weber State with this nice technical sales degree and a shot at the NFL. So I took my NFL shot first, and I was invited to the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is a college all-star game. It was my first chance to play with players that were from bigger schools than Weber State, because Weber State is a small football program, and it's a very proud, great program, but there are some big-time players. And I was passed over to go to those schools. I was only invited to the smaller school because I was a skinny kid. The fact that I developed and grown into a professional athlete prototypical size was now I could go stack up against these guys. And at this East-West Shrine Bowl, I got a chance to play against these kids from big colleges, and I was holding my own and feeling really good. I was like, wow, this might actually happen. Now the draft came and went, and I didn't get drafted, and I thought I would. But right after the draft, I got signed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I went down to Jacksonville, and the first real eye-opening practices of my life took place, where I saw real professional players. I had never practiced with anybody better than the Weber State level, and except at the Shrine Bowl, and now I'm on the field with a real professional team, and these guys were outstanding. And it really brought out the best in me. I had a good camp, and I made the practice squad. And then halfway through the season, I got brought up to the active roster. And this was in 2001, 20 years ago, when 9/11 happened. And so that year was a huge year in cultural America, and a huge pivotal shift in my life. As I came off of that year, I really got to play in some big time games, meet some real big time players. And I could tell that I was not going to last long in this league. That there were real special athletes in the world. And over the next 4 years, I got cut by Jacksonville the next year. Then I got signed by the Oakland Raiders, who are now the Las Vegas Raiders. They sent me over to Europe, and I got to play in Berlin. And I got juggled around over in Europe. I got to come back. I got cut by the Raiders. And I got to go back to Europe the next spring and play for Frankfurt. And then I got to come back and signed with the San Diego Chargers, and then ended my career with the St. Louis Rams. And San Diego Chargers are now the Los Angeles Chargers, and the St. Louis Rams are now the Los Angeles Rams. And I finished my career in 2004, and I was cut 3 years in a row. Cut. When you get cut from teams, you stop making money. There's no guaranteed money back then. And I had gotten married to my college girlfriend, and by the time I got cut by the Rams, all the money I'd made with the Jaguars we had spent, and it'd been a handful of years. When I was playing in Europe, they just kind of gave you about $1,000 a week for 10 weeks. So it's like $10,000 to come over for a few months. It's not real money. It's just another chance to stay in the game. So as my chances to stay in the game started dwindling, and I wasn't getting called to sign for new teams, and I knew exactly why. It was because there were superstars getting drafted every year, and these young studs were a little bit faster than me, little bit more hungry, and they were taking those spots. And my interests, I was like, okay, I checked this off. I got to play in the pros. I got to meet my heroes. I got to be a teammate of Jerry Rice's on the Raiders. And wow, what am I going to do next? I'm going to see what my degree holds. I had taken some odd jobs in between my NFL teams. And I knew that in the sales world of professionals, there were some that worked in a cubicle, in an office setting, and some that worked out in the field. And working out in the field was for me. I can't be in an office for very long. And you see the office behind me. I come here sometimes and invested in this company, but I don't do the day-to-day operations. And for me, my role that I wanted to do now is get into medical sales, get into healthcare sales. It seemed like a good career that had potential for a good salary and stability that I had been missing. While I juggled around the teams, I'd lost my home address. I needed a place to settle. And I was tired of living out of a suitcase. And so I decided to get into pharmaceutical sales. And my first thing I did was look up in my network who was the most accomplished in that area. And I called and asked if I could come over and pick their brain. And this guy, his name is Blaine Fowler. He was a quarterback for Brigham Young University, and he might have played in the CFL in Canada for a minute. I'll have to look up his record. Blaine was a terrific human being, and he helped me structure my resume to what pharmaceutical sales managers want it to say. He had seen me all through high school playing with a family member of his that was much younger that was on my team. And Blaine had helped me to become a better player in high school, just working out with me in the summer. So I knew he was a regional manager, and he helped me to understand what they do, what they expect of reps, what your job would be like, and helped me structure out my resume and cover letter. And I was like, wow, man, how could I thank you? You really kind of overcame a lot of the mental hurdles I had towards jumping into my next world and my next career. And then he showed me where to post my resume, and I got some headhunters that called. And then I got into my first interview, and all these guys wanted to talk about was football. They just wanted to talk football stories. So I told them a bunch of stories, and I got the job. And I noticed right away that being a former NFL player, people get really, this is back in the early 2000s, people were so nice to me. Just out of nowhere. It was like this sweet, like with men and with women in the professional sense. I was blown away by how kind men are when they find out you were a football player. And so it was like, wow, what a privilege to give myself to get in there and battle and take my lumps, that now I have some stories in the bag. I had a great experience. And right away, even the most harsh, mean man calms down and is nice to me. And that's been my blessing through my life, is to try and give that back to people, to be very cool and almost sweet with them as a man. Create space where people are safe, where they can engage and excel. And it's been really eye-opening to me to see that when a 6'5", 260-pound man walks in, whether they're angry or they're happy, can really move the mood in the room up and down and around. Yep. So that was really eye-opening to me, to come into the pharmaceutical business where I'm talking to a doctor, and my product was the jug of stuff you drink before they stick a camera up your butt and do your colonoscopy. You drink this stuff and it flushes you clean out. So I was selling poop juice, essentially. Prescription, safe, effective gallon of it. And I tell you what, it was a fun job because I didn't have too serious of conversations for too long with any one doctor. because I was talking about a product where you had to keep a little bit of humor. And also we were, making relationships and making friendships with our accounts in the way the pharmaceutical industry encourages. And after several years of that, I became a corporate trainer and was flying around the nation helping the other reps so that they could introduce themselves appropriately to doctors. They could find out how to be an asset to those businesses and to get their job done efficiently, because we covered, like I said, wide territories with no personal office. We worked out of our car, and we were expected to log a lot of miles. We called it windshield time, a lot of stops every day. And there's this whole business running around your city right now, peppering doctors, trying to get them to use our stuff, use our stuff, use our stuff, use our stuff. And the whole basis boils down to, do they like you? Good. Does your product do what they need it to for their patient population? Even better. Is your product covered by the insurances needed in America? That is a huge variable. And so we juggle all these different balls. And as I did that, and I was a trainer at that, I got to see every big city in America. I got to work with a lot of reps. A lot of them remain friends to this day. I became bored. I wanted to have some new shifts in my life. My marriage was ending. I was really, really having a hard time with it. Leaving it at age 31 was the best decision I'd ever made up to that stage. It was very, very happy and freeing time. So now I'm in my young 30s, getting a little antsy with my career. Needed to jump to something new. So I had a buddy that wanted me to come and work with him and start a solar company.
Wow.
Now, this was in 2008, 2009. There were big incentives in Colorado, not Utah. So all the states have so many different rules and laws. I left my comfy, secure training gig and tried to do an entrepreneurial venture. And tell you what, I moved out there, gave it my all, and 9 months later had no money left. And we just hadn't cracked what I needed to. And now I was real desperate, but still energized, still me. I knew that I could have a good effect. And I knew that if I acted like a jerk or acted desperate, no results, no fun. So I went back to Salt Lake City and called Blaine Fowler, who is now in medical sales. And I got to interview into this medical arena. And now medical sales and pharmaceutical sales, two different ballgames. Pharmaceutical sales, you're almost a caterer, bringing lunch and information. Medical sales, you might bring lunch and information sometimes if you don't have a surgery going on. But really, you're bringing all the surgical equipment the day before, showing up the day of, early, making sure it's all set up properly, and making sure that the people doing the surgery who aren't the surgeon know what they're looking at and how they're going to use it, when they're going to use it. So you have a very efficient, clean, effective surgery.
Wow.
So now I'm interested. Plus, in pharmaceutical sales, we're getting paid on prescriptions that are counted from the doctor's right prescriptions. A month later, they're tallied. Then a month and a half later, you get a paycheck on month, this work from the past. So you never really knew if your work today moved your paycheck's needle or moved your sales numbers needle. Pharmaceutical sales was more vague. But in medical sales, when you're standing there with the surgeon and he says, I need 2 more anchors, put it in the shoulder, open those up, and those anchors sell for $400 each, and your commission rate is 18%, he just gave you $75 with one sentence.
Wow.
And there was something to that was better for an actual salesman's heart and soul, that you could feel yourself making money as people were getting repaired. And then our only ethic really was to be accurate with any advice that we were asked to give, because we didn't go to medical school. I don't have a degree, but I'm sitting here telling you how to drill a femur for an ACL. And the doctors are looking over at me like, am I doing it right? And I'm like, a little bit lower, aim higher. Yep, there you go. Here comes the pin out of the femur. And they're like, oh, this thing's nice. And it's like carpentry, but with an actual living, breathing, priceless human. The stakes were so much higher than me bringing lunch and talking about poop juice. It was a fantastic job. So I was repairing my missed years of being a surgeon by standing behind them, keeping my distance, and working with them on thousands and thousands of surgeries that were orthopedic based, like a rotator cuff repair or a dislocated shoulder repair or a triceps tendon reattachment, any tendon reattaching, patellar tendon, ankle tendons like the semitendinosus. There were ACL repairs of all shapes and sizes. And I spent the bulk of my 30s chasing around these doctors. We would find out they're showing up at their surgical center at 7 because they have their first surgery at the hospital at 9. So they're going to do a surgery at the surgical center. They're jumping to the hospital. And somewhere before 9, when that guy's pulling off his gloves and throwing them in the trash and trying to get on his hat and cross the street, there's little old me being like, hey, you got this thing coming in next. I got some tissue you could repair that with. If it has no graft, it's frozen, it's on there. It's on the shelf, it's ready to go at the hospital. Or some little tidbit that would plant the seed. And then later you get the call with the billing sheet. And like our whole job is to make sure these doctors had all the tools at their disposal to do excellent work. It's pretty fast-paced, fun stuff.
Wow.
And now, I was so bored before when I was in my late 20s. And now I'm getting into my late 30s. Not my mid-30s. Now I have so much work. We had an ACL system that was novel. And we had a shoulder system that was novel. We were taking bites out of the big player in the industry, our big opponent. We were getting the doctors to use our stuff instead of theirs. I was getting doctors that were 5 hours apart from each other, operating on the same day, both requesting that I was there. I needed help. I was getting to where I was working almost 20 hours a day. It was terrible. So I got permission to hire someone, and I hired my brother. There's the fatal flaw. When you hire your brother in a big company like ours, you couldn't, because of the nepotism rules, you could be on each other's level, but you couldn't manage each other. They'd probably seen that along the way. That was going to be an issue. So now I'm working medical sales, and I'm managing my brother. He was incredible. He was the guy I needed for the job because of everything we had to jump the hoops. I had to be able to call you 24 hours a day. And we handled logistics like there's a FedEx package coming in. You pick it up at 4:30 from the airport before it goes to the Fed Hub, before they ever deliver it, because we need it at 7 at the hospital up the road. You have to count on someone that they will make every decision in their life. And he had a small child. According to this, so that we can help strangers at hospitals and make our paycheck. And so I got to train someone I was familiar with. When the wheels were really turning really fast, that was wonderful for me. And my brother got to take over when I left, because as soon as I hired him, and then I hired the next guy, and then I hired the next guy, there wasn't enough room in the pie for everybody to get a big paycheck with the rate that I had grown it, got a big paycheck, started sharing it, my paycheck had dribbled down and dribbled down. And now I had 2 guys working for me. The burnout started to kick in. Before I was bored, and then medical sales, I was way too busy and I got overwhelmingly burned out. So guess what? It was time to do an entrepreneurial venture with my buddy from the solar company again. Because now he had grown that company up that I'd left. It had worked out for him. We wanted to part. He had sold it off to a bigger firm. Let's do it again, but now we know what we're doing. So I quit my job again. Took my money to Colorado. And 9 months later, it didn't even happen. I was back in 3. I didn't have the chops to make it in those industries. I didn't know what I was doing, I had no expertise, and none of my pedigree, niceness, demeanor, stories, or anything mattered. I was working in a new industry I knew nothing about. So I came back to Utah and got back into medical sales, working on feet, ankles, shin breaks,
Uh,
lower ankle breaks. Now we weren't working on young athletes with rotator cuff or ACL tear. We're working on old ladies with foot correction issues. And holy cow, the lower foot is interesting. So I spent a year in that space of operating and almost to the point of total ankle replacements, halos around feet that had just been destroyed, where we were putting them back together and putting pins in like around your neck at a car crash. Just incredibly intricate lower leg surgeries. And man, to bring me to today, I left that 5 years ago when I found out I had a son on the way. And that son's mom, I had a company, search group partners, that staffs people for white collar work across a lot of industries. She's extremely bright, is doing an extremely good job. And if she was going to have a kid at this point in her busy career, she needed a tremendous amount of child support. So we were at a little crossroads where we both wanted, anytime we were going to have a kid, that they were with their parents for their formative years until kind of preschool. They had a parent really close by. We didn't want to put them into daycare right away. And that was just our personal value system. And now I would find the choice was put to me to quit my medical sales career and be a stay-at-home parent.
Wow.
Have you interviewed any stay-at-home parents yet?
No, you'll be the first.
Okay, well, this was tricky for me to look at all the burnout that I'd gone through when I was running the orthopedics division, to look at the failures that I'd endured and going broke twice in my adult life when I jumped into renewable energy divisions. And now I've got a new girlfriend who I'm supposed to play this role and switch the hat and be the guy spending her money. Wild, man. I never really thought about that. I had to really kind of wrap my head around it, because it is a sweet offer from someone you love. And it was a cool idea of a way to raise a family. Wow. So I took it. I helped her recapitalize this company, so she became the majority owner. Previously, her cap table was spread amongst some capital groups, and she wasn't the full owner of her own company yet. But I think work-wise, that's been my major contribution since becoming a father to the world of capitalism and to our bottom line, is making sure that the company and the equity that we're building and that she's building is her own. And if we ever have an exit event, sell this company or whatnot, that it's just been more beneficial work all along the way.
Wow.
But now, to answer your short question with my long story, my day-to-day, I wake up, I cook eggs for these two little growing monsters. They just turned 5 and 2. They're healthy and huge, and one of them started preschool and excelling, and I run them around to whatever they need. I take them on walks. I was out on the bikes in the park just this morning. And I get to network with friends who have things going on. I get to find out what's, my free time to network and call people. Like, Fong, we never would have been able to pull off this interview when I was in medical sales unless we did it at midnight.
Right.
I would have been in scrubs. I worked in scrubs almost all the time. You change them when you get in the operating room, but it's just so easy to wake up and put on those pajamas and go to work in your pajamas and zip all over the city, talk to 12 surgeons. The next day have 4 surgeries. The next day have 4 surgeries. That whole world left no time for me to keep a lunch appointment.
Wow.
How did I know what tomorrow's schedule is going to bring? It left me no time for stability and like kind of a cohesive balance in life. It became a lifestyle. I felt like NFL was like that. Medical sales was like that. And for now, it's one of the first times I'm in my early 40s, I can sit back and look at the way I spend my time. And I'm trying to pull some more balance to it, because stay-at-home parenting is wild. You have any stay-at-home parents that listen to your show? Or moms that do this all the time? It is a real intense 24/7 job that you get no thanks and no money for. Incredible work. But I'm very proud of it. And I like how I'm able now to have conversations like this with new people I meet like you, be able to maybe tell people along the way that no matter what they're going through, they can get there and break through all their fears and goals and come out the other side feeling accomplished and feeling loving, not feeling like the grind is a permanent thing. It will reemerge when you go broke and make bad decisions in your 30s. And you have to go back and find ways to contribute and build up your money again. But yeah, my story is very unique, and I don't know if I can always put one title on what I'm good at or what I've been doing. But I do like so many different topics. And right now I'm very interested in the whole crypto world. Decentralized currency is fascinating. I've had a little revolution with my own spinal health. Coming out of a football career, that had been a big compromise for me. I'd been in a lot of orthopedic pain myself, and I've recently found a nice fix for that. And I'm kind of interested in see where all our society changes. We've all kind of been made aware these last few years of the rough and tumble ways we abuse each other's personal time and space. And I feel like we're kind of going through a social, cultural, everybody can call it a revolution. Some people like using the word reset. Conspiracy people and people that are for change, I think we all can see that we care about each other better, be more aware of each other's needs and goals. You create so much more nice synergy for yourself and your loved ones. So not working 24/7 while this last year is just wreaked havoc across the world, it's been really, really nice for me to sit back and listen, learn, make appropriate adjustments to the perspectives that I'm learning and growing from, and be able to move forward. Because I feel like being in Salt Lake City as a white male, you're limited in what you get exposed to.
Right.
You have to seek out friends and seek out more than your siloed perspective.
Well, it sounds like you went through your entire life with not much fear. You're able to go.
There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear.
But you face it like an amazing person. You go, you know what? I'll try this. It doesn't work. You do something else. You jump into that and learn it. So is that mentality something you've always had, where you're willing to face fear head on?
I guess so. I think when I was a kid, I was timid. I've never liked getting hurt. I never liked getting scared or overwhelmed.
Football's not exactly the best sport to not get hurt in, though.
And I did. I got hurt plenty. I think that facing those fears was something that we all start when we're young. One of my great coaches was named Frank Gantz Sr. He's passed away, and he was the special teams coordinator on the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2001 when I was there. In 2002, he had moved on and retired, and his replacement was there in 2002. So I got to work with him in 2001. And he told us, understand the impact of your demeanor. He told us a lot of great quotes, but one that stuck with me a lot was, understand the impact of your demeanor. And when you walk in a room as a hot-headed, even, everything that you do is going to send off an impact. And he's like, as big, powerful football players, if you really bring it, you raise up the energy and the performance of your teammates. As a big, powerful football player, if you really go in there and mail it in and get slammed, we get depressed as your teammates. You'll bring us down quick. We think we're going to get killed today. So we need you to have a certain attitude towards your fear that includes a lot of courage and appropriate excellence. And that was kind of a brand that I'd lived, I guess, with growing up. I'm from a very Mormon family. I'm the only black sheep in the Mormon family who doesn't currently still attend all the meetings and do live the religion. Mm-hmm. I just didn't like it. And it was very, very hard to speak up and say that. And so early on, it was like, you're told to say, if there's a stranger, if there's fear, if there's this or that. There's a lot of times where as a kid, you're encouraged to speak up. Mm-hmm. And then when things are really personal and you don't know who you can speak up to, there's a tremendous amount of lump in your throat that you can't say anything or you'll get in trouble. So I think that at a very early age, I was able to learn that I had a trust network and that I could tell, I had great parents I could tell anything to. And yeah, I might get in trouble, but you're safe here. You have a place that we're never kicking you out. You know, I had a safety nest to start looking at my challenges, whether I chose them or whether they chose me, and deciding, you know, God, I'm competitive as can be. I want to win. I want to do good. And then I'm growing into a capable athlete. I'm gonna do good. And then you get in the classroom, and there's the next challenge. Like, let's compete and do good. And when things are scary, I don't want to say I could run home to mommy, but there's a safety net in my life that I'm crediting for being willing and able to take a challenge and know that I'm not alone fully. So later in my adult life, I felt more alone and scared than I did as a child. Mm-hmm. When I had times where I was running out of money and I was living far from home, those have been bigger deals to me than some of the earlier fears. And because I've had a chance to be involved with the different opportunities I have, even surgeries. Can I tell you how scary surgeries can get? They can get complicated and they can go wrong. Yep. And there's times where you might be drilling a bone and the bone breaks open or something. Whole new problems emerge. There's a lot of different people, a lot of different crazy things. And so tomorrow does come, the sun does come up. I'm trying my best. I'm going to show up prepared. I've always been extremely scared of being unprepared. Wow. And I'm at a point now in my life where it's like I do trust to go off the cuff a lot more because it's more comfortable. But previously, I'd show up extremely prepared, and that helped to calm down the fears I had. If I was encountering a fear, I just had to get very prepared, mentally and physically, football-wise, mentally and physically, medical sales-wise. I had to study everything a doctor might know about incisions and inserting. Why aren't they cutting here? Oh, because they'll hit a nerve bundle. Yeah. Why are they cutting here? So they can go underneath cartilage. Why, mental acuity, expertise in your field really help you calm down. Mm-hmm. And then the problems just don't seem as big. And I was glad I got to play football and encounter big slamming killer men that terrified me on and off the field. Because I'm a big guy. I need to see.
I know, like you're huge compared to my size, and you're scared.
And it helps you calibrate. It helped me calibrate how to go about my business. Mm-hmm. I try to pay attention, try to give some degree of niceness to people. In the times of my life where I'd really done a poor job of this was just when I was getting overwhelmed and having to try to balance out my own life, and then you become less aware of others. Mm-hmm. But I think that overcoming my own fears, the fear wasn't enough. The excitement was too appealing. I had to go through it, and being involved in it is so exciting. I still remember my first surgery when the doctor told me in the hallway, do you have a locking anchor I can use in a navicular bone? And navicular bone is right below your ankle. It's the little bump right below your ankle. And he needed to reattach this tendon into that bone. And I'm like, I got you. And then we got in there, and the drill was not the kind of drill he liked to use. In my very first surgery, things are starting to go wrong, and he's asking me, this looks too big. Does this have a K-wire? You know, they like to put a wire in and then throw a drill on it that has a hollow drill that'll go over the guide wire so they don't miss.
Yeah.
Smart. This was for the shoulder. It didn't have a guide wire. He wanted to use a shoulder drill. So fear. I tell you what have you trained on? What have you trained on? This is how to do it. I was on top of that guy, making sure he did it perfect. I couldn't have my first surgery go wrong.
You're making it scary for me. I mean, like all this discussion about asking you how this is done and what should I use and am I doing this? This is happening during the surgery. In my mind, I'm thinking, hey, you should know exactly what you're doing before you get into the surgery, but you're asking all these questions.
It's like an artist going into a painting. They know the painting is going to be bright colors. So they bring all their bright colors. That's a surgery, because once you get in there, the MRI might have said the tear is posterior. You open up, you get in the shoulder and you've got a full thickness tear. Now you thought you're going to be done in 45 minutes. You're going to be done in an hour and 45 minutes. The doctor will call the charge nurse to back up the patients. That's why people will be like, sorry, doctor's busy, whatever. Things are just different. You got to repair what you see, and what you planned on, you don't always get. And that applies to everything.
Yeah. Now, in your list of dreams, you had played professional football and also become a doctor. So tell me, which one was more, which one did you feel more, wow, I'm there? The day that you played your very first football game, or the day that a doctor went up to you and go, how do I do this?
Dude, both very cool moments in my life. What a question. Football. Football was bizarre. If you're on a field in an NFL stadium, and I'm proud to have played in the era of the hardest hitting killers. Don't protect the quarterback. Don't protect anybody. It has gotten more managed since I left the game. But when I played, it was Ray Lewis was the king of the middle of the field. Like these incredible power players. And this wall of people. I remember being in Pittsburgh. Was the first game where I was inserted into the game plan. I was up off the practice squad for a handful of weeks, and now they're like, you're in the game. You're second string on offense, and you are starting every special team.
Wow.
And so I ran out there for my first kickoff. I mean, it was in Heinz Field. It just opened in Pittsburgh. The city behind you, Pittsburgh has a beautiful skyline like that. And this football field is framed so that you can see some of it. And it's just, I can't even feel my feet touch the floor, Fong. I don't know what to tell you. It's just, you're being in the middle of that dream coming true was wild. And you might get personally damaged horribly at any minute. You might personally damage someone else and get on SportsCenter any minute. There was an electricity to an NFL experience that you can't duplicate. I've never been able to duplicate. I think a lot of guys try to duplicate it. Getting into surgery was literally as close as I could ever come to. I don't care what bell is ringing, what is what. You are cutting someone open. You are moving through. You are isolating. You are putting in guides. The first surgery I saw was a total knee replacement from a very famous surgeon who makes his home out here in Park City, Utah. And I went into his operating room with his rep, and I was the understudy. And I was against the wall, and he walks in like Darth Vader, puts his gloves on. Who's this? Because that guy had a system down. And they're like, he's with us, he's cool. And then that doctor proceeded to quiz me the whole surgery.
Wow.
And that's where the education comes in. These guys are educators. They're training. They love the art of the repair of human health. And to watch him teach me what he's doing wish could have gone into my first football game and had the quarterback be like, here's why we're doing this, right? Slow it down at game speed. So it's very different. And it's very thrilling. It's very rewarding to play a support role even on a surgical team. And even as a vendor, we're vendors. When we're selling the products, we're vendors. You do get a few times where it was very important that you were there. And that's very rewarding. There's a lot of times they don't need you. There's a lot of vendors they don't need. But if you've developed enough expertise to where the doctor's counting on you as a double check and you've prepared for a week together to do this special surgery next week on a unique situation, that's as much professional fun as I've had since football, for sure. So I liked your question quite a bit. Being in an operating room is really cool.
In retrospect, if you had to go back and change one thing, would you prolong your playing career? And what would you have changed in order for you to prolong it?
I would have gotten involved in the off season in more professional training. To prolong my career, I would have taken better care of my body and spent time and money to that effect.
Was that the biggest difference once you got to that very first training camp and you noticed all these guys were playing? Was that the biggest difference between what they were doing and what you were doing?
I think the biggest difference between me and the top tier tight ends is fast twitch muscle fiber. I've got less of it than them. I was slightly so in an NFL degree, I ran a 4.8 second 40-yard dash, and the finest tight ends in my position are running 4.65s, 4.5. It sounds like it's equivalent. But it's not. If you were to run at me, and he was to run at me, and you're a little faster than him, I have to maybe turn my hips sooner because you're coming, and my hip turn might coincidentally get the other receiver open. All the pieces have to move at crazy high speed, and my piece just moved at so at my finest, my best day athletically, I was competitive. Because I could run my 4.8 100 times in a row. So one of my gifts was I was very long. I had good stability and good long-term health, so to speak. But I was deteriorating. My spine was getting messed up. I had a big shoulder surgery in college. I was deteriorating. And some of these guys start with Olympic capability. And as they deteriorate, they're still faster than a slow rookie. So my strengths was very dependable, very smart. I learned the ropes, didn't make mistakes. I had great hands. I was steady, but I just wasn't flashy and excellent. So I was always going to be replaced by the shiny super athlete, and appropriately so. This is back to what I said. I was very glad I got to see who I stacked up against. Because I watched guys that could just score a touchdown, jump up in their full equipment, throw a hammer dunk over the 10-foot crossbar. Okay. I had to line up, barely get that dunk, in my equipment. So, like, there's guys like LeBron James that can dunk from the foul line, man. Like, I could dunk, but, like, those guys are freaks. So, when I got in there and saw the freaks, it calmed me down a little bit when I got cut. It's not that bad of a deal if you really know that your team that you love needs a better player and that guy's a better player. It didn't really piss me off as bad. After I got there and I got to see who I was up against, and I got to stay for a handful of years. Like I beat a lot of those guys out because I was steady. I did my stuff right. And I worked really hard. I got the coach's trust. And if you don't have your boss's trust, I don't care who you're working for. Right. Forget it. If you're working for yourself, you better have your own trust, so if I could have done better with then, I would have probably watched more film with my coaches. And I would have spent the time away from them working on my body and my strength, rehabilitating whatever I was going through.
Well, no.
Go ahead.
No, the whole football career also gave you an opportunity to play overseas in Europe. So how was your life in Europe?
We lived in a hotel. This was when I was married. I was very happy to be married at this point. And she was very happy to have this fun European vacation where we got to go around. The NFL Europe League I played in closed down in 2007 or 8. It was called NFL Europe. I was really sad to see it go because that was one of the best times of my life. The reason why it was really fun is because I'd always dreamed of traveling to Europe, and now I didn't have to pay for it. I mentioned earlier we weren't making a lot of money, but we didn't have any bills. Mm-hmm. And the NFL Europe League carried the NFL's parent ownership. So when I was playing, it was like AAA baseball. And I had just come from the majors. Now I get to play against AAA level players. It was such a relief. It felt like going back to college, but with professional skills and a bigger, stronger body. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun. I was very competitive. I had a lot of fun. That's the league I should have played in. You know how there's like NBA basketball players that get a 10-day contract, but then they go to Israel or something and just dominate? Yeah, that was me. I was like a AAA level football player who got a shot at the majors and stuck for a little while, but they were always trying to replace us. That favorite coach, Coach Gantz, was like, we're trying to replace you guys. And they're trying to replace me. We got to be excellent every day. Wow. But, man, I tell you what, Coach Coughlin, here, I'll give you a taste of what the NFL is like. Coach Coughlin was our head coach. Snuck up behind me on my way to practice once. He liked to come up and just deliver his message and bail. And he said, I got a tape of 7 guys on my desk that want your job. You better show me something today. He walked away.
Wow. Does that motivate you or demotivate you?
No, that motivates me a lot. And it made me angry. It made me angry that they weren't seeing my value or something. It made me angry that, like, what are you guys missing here? I'm giving my everything to here. But I went out and had a great practice. And I'd been told before, like, the NFL is not for long. We don't care about you. We care about the Super Bowl. Yeah. And we were called Jags by the scouts. So I was on the Jaguars. And then the scouts, like, I got to my first camp, and there's a row of scouts. And they got their notepads, and they're talking to each other. And, like, one or two of them, I remember them saying, go get them, Jags. Like, good luck, Jags. And it was when us rookies were around. And then I learned they were actually calling us just a guy. They were calling us pawns. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I was an All-American at Weber State. I was nobody's pawn, man. That was the biggest deal. I think that when I looked at them, I was like, you guys are losers. Mm-hmm. You're the Jag. I'm a unique unicorn. I'm about to show you something. So that was me in my young 20s. It was like, oh, you're doubting me? Let's compete. Mm-hmm.
No.
And I knew that there'd been a tipping point for me following in college. Can I tell you this? I want your listeners to really think about when they're at night, feeling the pressure of whatever they're in going through. For me, I was coming back. I broke my foot in college as a freshman. And the next season, I was having to earn my job back because I broke it as a freshman when I was second string, and then the senior ahead of me, he was gone. So now it's my job to lose. And I was losing it because I was a little top heavy. I wanted to work out my squats while I was repairing my foot. I was going against 2 studs to be the starter at my position, and I was feeling a lot of pressure. And you talk about how do you overcome fear? This was a pivotal switch for me. I was probably 19 or 20 years old, probably 20 years old. And I'm in bed thinking about how much pressure these guys are applying to me. I'm freaking out. Like, I might be third string, not starter. And I was thinking about the one guy, he's really good at blocking. The other guy, he's really good at receiving. I'm kind of good at both. I'm really good at receiving, but blocking wise, I was getting better and better. I started out really skinny and crappy, but I was getting stronger and bigger. Like, I was like, I wonder what they're thinking tonight. Are they worried that I'm going to take their spot? Like, and then I was like, wow, the blocker guys definitely doesn't like it when I make my sweet catches. The catching guy definitely doesn't like it when the coach puts me in on the tough blocking plays. I can see what's going on here. I'm the pressure on them.
Yeah.
They're not the pressure on me. And that was an epiphany for me. It was a big deal to think like, wow, man, like I don't need to show up and be panicked or be stressed. I can show up with my positive attitude, my best face on, and go about this work knowing I'm being effective. And maybe it'll help even if I fake that I'm winning and excited. It'll put the screws on these guys even more, like stress them out more, and they'll deteriorate. And then I'll definitely shine. So I wrote out, I'm the pressure on a piece of, tape, athletic tape, and I hung it in my locker, and just in a place where I could kind of see it, not even obvious to others. Wow. So I went to practice the next day and just applied myself. Just applied my pressure. Like, I'll go my hardest, and then look at the effect you have. So on the inside, I was gauging the effect. On the outside, I was keeping, a nice, But I won that starting job when I was a sophomore, and I started all the games out through the rest of my career. And in my NFL bio, it says I started 32 of my final 33 games. And I don't know what they're talking about. I started all 33 of them. But, whatever. But they, those guys were a blessing. They're still both friends. The pressure we apply on each other as we compete is wonderful. Brings out the best in everyone. And I looked at it as positive competition. I never wanted to be a toxic influence. I've never wanted to be the problem. I want to be the solution. So, but knowing that I have something to offer in building up an immense amount of hopefully expertise in the field that I'm trying to talk about, and then showing up with a good attitude and uplifting others, that's been really successful for me.
Would you say that for somebody who's played professional football, the mindset and what you face, like you have these big guys running at you and tackling and whatnot, and you face a lot of those kind of challenges, that kind of mindset, have you utilized the same mindset when it comes to sales? And does that give you a benefit and kind of an advantage over other salespeople?
Definitely. Because every salesperson has heard their no, has done their prospecting, knows who their clients need to be or could be, and then goes and hits the education circuit to get people's habits in line with what's next. Physically slamming into people took me time to get used to. There's a technique to it to where you can definitely picture you're doing a little lift in the gym. You'll deploy yourself powerfully for 6 inches. And then, you start out there's a power band. So once I learned how to strike people within my power band, how to latch on appropriately to not get a penalty and not lose my control, then you're not afraid to have that physical violence. And physical violence and physical striking have nothing to do with sales, other than you're conditioning yourself to do something well that's not that fun, like call your leads, or fill up hotter leads through an aware marketing campaign, or notice a market shift. And, for me, if I noticed a defensive end tipping, I have to launch full speed into an open space. He might fly behind me or something. But if he flies to where I'm scared he's going to fly, I'll pancake him and the running back will go. So take appropriate risks. Salespeople have to take risks, and not in outlandish verbal ways or this or that. You just have to be willing and brave. And there's no question that my football background fortified everything I did in sales to help me be a little bit more brave. It helped me be a little bit more sure that I was going to be taken well, that I wouldn't be bothering someone, type of thing. It's a big deal. To be an athlete was what they wanted to hire. It's why I got hired. because my profile as an athlete shows that I can overcome and stick to a training program and wake up sore and do it again. And the general attributes that anyone needs in sales is a lot of stick-to-itiveness and believing in their goal and wanting to be there. Because it shows. If you don't want to be there, you don't believe in your goal, the salesperson just shows. It really shows.
What would you say is the best coaching advice you got in playing football, and also the best coaching advice you got in sales?
I love that coaching advice I got from understand the impact of your demeanor. Mm-hmm. The thing I'm going to add to it in football, and this applies in sales too, the same coach, Frank Gantz Sr., said, the need to control stems from the failure to inspire. Wow. I loved that when I heard it. I was 23 years old. I took that home and had better conversations with my girl, like better conversations with my friends, because to inspire someone or control them was a big part of my youth coming out of Mormonism and leaving it. I felt a tremendous amount of control exerted towards me. I wasn't being inspired to stay. I wasn't being inspired to move forward with my thoughts and beliefs and mental journey and spiritual journey. The control was kicking in. So a couple years later, when I'm in the NFL and I hear this guy say the need to control stems from failure to inspire, it really woke me up to my approach. Am I using a controlling approach that I hated when other people used on me? Or am I using an inspiring approach that I love that this coach is using on me? And God, it really ramped me up to learn that the best people in my world were inspiring me, because it helped me now. Now, I don't like to control anybody. I don't like to tell anyone what to do. I like to celebrate what you're interested in doing. As a parent, my two little sons have the run of play. Like I like to see what's on their mind. I can't just make them a rule follower, or I won't get to know them and I won't earn their trust. Because the people that didn't earn my trust were the ones that tried to make me follow a rule, weren't learning what was motivating me, making me tick, and bringing out the best of me. So the people that haven't controlled me, that have inspired me, that's been in sales and in football, I would love everyone to take that to heart. Look at who they're controlling, who they're inspiring, where our efforts, my efforts to inspire my son's behavior fail daily. Let's get in the tub, boys. Yeah, why? So do you lure them to the tub with a prize? There's just different ways to go about everything. So that advice I got has been profound and definitely applied in football and sales.
Now, what's the next big thing for you? I know you're also a musician. So what's the
music box? Yeah, I'm learning how to produce my own music. I think my music's excellent if you are hanging out at a bar, background music, riding an elevator somewhere back. I don't sing. Don't get excited, you guys. It's all instrumental. I really enjoy doing it. When no one's looking and I have free time, I've got songs in my head and I've taught myself how to get them into the computer and arrange them. Now what I'm going to do next is learn how to produce them and then get them out to the public and move on. I think music's going to be something I've always done. Mm-hmm. I've referenced my family a lot, but I was raised in a musical environment, very musical home. Mm-hmm. And my parents are both accomplished. My dad's extremely accomplished vocalist. And he sang in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir for decades.
Wow.
It's a fantastic skill set. And so we were always told to use all our blessings, like develop your talents. And so this is one where I'm going to be developing this, and I appreciate anyone who has listened to any of my efforts to get good at music that were terrible. Because it's gotten better, but yeah, if I can make something happen in that space, that'd be great. Awesome. I'm not a performer yet, so it would just be releasing it, writing it. There's so many people in the musical industry that aren't the performer, so I'll let that develop. And now I'm just going to stay sharp on. I'm really interested in e-commerce. I think the world has just gone to the computer. When the internet started, we didn't trust it to buy and give your credit card into the internet. And now it's just a way of life. And so I think this next phase for me is going to be just helping in any way I can the endeavors with this group and helping people get employment that they love, that they're excited about. That's what this company does. And then really focusing on the things I love, which is, you know, building up my friends and families and putting out some good jams here and there. We'll see how it goes.
That's going to be a very impressive resume that you're going to have. You have like former football player, musician, entrepreneur, business owner, investor, this producer. Let's just keep going on and on and on. So that's absolutely.
I should have picked one thing and stuck with it, but let's be real. With football, I was almost an imposter. I was terrific athlete in a lot of, you know, it might not be my best sport. Just kidding. But I my skiing might be my best sport. But I think that music maybe my calling. I don't know. It's something that if you guys all leave me alone, that's where I'm gonna go. And so how fun would that be to bring forth as a vocation?
Awesome.
But we'll see. I got a couple clips. Add them to the show or whatever. You know,
I'll put that in
at some point.
Will we ever see your kids become pro athletes?
If they choose to. I think they're good. They're both going to be sized even larger than me.
Wow.
Their mom's brothers are huge. Their mom's dad was a professional basketball player in Europe.
Wow.
6'8" guy. So my sons are. Well, the one of them, you might see him designing city skylines. He's like an architect. He's a genius. He's a competitive little guy. But the second one, the younger one, is clearly just wants to dunk and smash, and he's way focused on the competitive stuff. Where my older son, you can just see his intellectual wheels ticking. So I will not be pushing either of them into football. They'll both be playing a spectrum of sports as a kid to get a taste for what they like. And then whatever they choose, they've got to choose. Like I said, my dad didn't want me to play football, but I ended up really liking it. I wanted to be there. And if you don't want to be there, you won't be good at anything. You definitely won't be professional at anything, because the best and the best of the best are both talented, driven, passionate, skilled, you know, and have opportunities. So I'll try and line them up to have opportunities. And I want them to earn their way and earn their stake. And I think that was one of the best gifts my father gave me, because it gives me a lot of satisfaction.
Right. Now,
if I give them things, the satisfaction doesn't get checked off the box. So we'll see what they aspire to be.
Nice. Looking forward to it. Over the last hour, you gave a lot of great life advice and sales advice and athletic advice and mindset advice. If you had to choose one last kind of message to the entire world, what message would that be?
That we're all spending our entire life coming in and out of different rooms and then going to bed and doing it again. And to break it down and be more simple with each other. We're not different. We're all waking up with some degree of getting ourselves online, accomplishing something, getting ourselves offline and resetting. So take more time and a special approach with humans. We're extremely unique and rare. It's incredible to be around a human. I think I've always liked people more than a lot of other people maybe like people. So if anything I could impart is to look at the real special characteristics of what makes us us. One of which is us being a loud, fussy asshole who can't see anybody else's trouble. But I really enjoyed getting out of my own issues and looking at other people and where I can potentially be of service, because then it brings back more buoyant love to your own effort. And better friends and energy and whatnot. And I have been competitive. I have been an asshole. I have been chippy. I've had lessons where I've learned by doing things or acting the wrong, like in ways that really didn't serve me or work out well. So if I was really going to give any advice to everybody out there, is just to recognize how important and special we all are, and to kind of honor that and honor it in yourself. Create your own space and your own special routines and things you love to do. And I think those two things have helped me not be more of a giver, not a taker. How do you put it? To not be a net negative on society, to try and contribute. There's a lot of us that, like, you lose faith, you lose trust in yourself or others or your group. Like, if you do look how special you are and how special other people are, you'll soon find more special people. The ones that weren't special to you, that roughed you up, will be in the rearview mirror quickly. Like, there are so many people looking for fabric, human fabric, sense of worth, sense of support. So offering that and having a mindset that's kind of around that, God, I'd love to instill that in the world.
Awesome. Very well said. Now, before I let you go, I got 5 quick questions.
I'm going to blow these.
Give me the first thing that comes to mind, all right?
Right.
Top 3 players all time that you want to play with.
That I played with?
That you would like to play with of all time.
Jerry Rice, Tony Baselli. Ooh. Top 3 players that I didn't play with?
Oh, the top 3 players you would love to play with of all time.
Michael Vick, Tony Baselli, Jerry Rice.
Okay. Now you have all 3 of those players. They just finished playing a round of poker with you and they're hungry. Do you have a specialty that you can serve them? Something that you cook up?
Yeah, I do filet mignon that's marinated in soy sauce and a little bit of steak sauce for 24 hours. And then, I grill it medium. Spectacular.
Sounds awesome. I would like something.
Yeah.
You're stranded on a desert island. You could eat one food for the rest of your life with no consequence.
Pizza, probably just a full spectrum, loaded jalapenos and everything. Combination pizza. I could probably dabble with that. Make a lot of it.
You mentioned before that you're not singing yet, but I'm gonna guess that eventually you'll be performing some singing. Who would you love to be able to do a duet with?
Wow. Alicia Keys. John Legend.
Awesome.
The best vocalists out there. Let's see, there's so many. Yeah, okay, keep going. What else?
And my final question is, what is success like? Pick a number between 1 to 3.
1.
So number 1, how is success like a diamond ring?
Everybody can see it. Everybody knows what it's worth. I don't know. That's a good point. Diamond rings. I'm terrible at these games, man. Success is like a diamond ring. It's important. Strive after it.
Very well said.
Show it off. Enjoy what you got.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. It's been a lot of fun hearing you speak and also hearing your stories. There's a lot of great life advice throughout the entire time that we've talked, and an hour flew by just like that. I just wanted to ask you if there's any final words that you would like to share.
Just to everybody in Canada, Americans love you. We believe in you. And anything you can I can do for you, let me know, Fong.
Awesome. What's the best way for people to reach out for you?
My Instagram's at Ryan Scott Prince, all traditional spelling. And that's probably the way to start from now. My band name is Popaver Music, Papaver Music. So if that ever gets rolling, I'll be at those 2 places.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And that's it for us today. He is Ryan Prince. My name is Fong Chua. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.